G'day, how are we all? Wearing my Christmassy red outfit because 'tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. And I have Christmassy nails, look, Christmassy red nails, and look, this one has a little glittery snowflake on it. Schnockta. Irish, Ashkelga for snow is Schnockta. I have a long pinky finger nail for Schnockta. And on my thumb, don't know how clear that is, it's a little koala with a Santa hat on, because I am, of course, Australian. But I'm Australian in the Northern Hemisphere at Christmas. It is cold outside, baby, it is cold outside, no sign of snow, sadly. Winter solstice yesterday and a storm came through, but no snow. It'd be nice if there was. It'd be nice if there was a white Christmas. Alas, not much chance of it, I don't think. But it is nice to be in the Northern Hemisphere, but particularly in Ireland, with everyone happy and merry inside pubs with Guinness and whiskey by roaring fires, all that sort of thing. So, thank you everyone for joining me. Thank you everyone who's been watching my videos. I think the one from last week is up in the 20-something thousand, which is terribly nice of you all. So do keep it coming, as it were. So I'm nearly at 46,000 subscribers, I think. It'd be awfully nice if I got there before Christmas. Yes, it would. You know, no pressure. But thanks for clicking like and subscribe and all that bizzo. I do appreciate it. So, as I said, I'm Australian. This is my 8th Christmas on Ireland. I'm about 10,000 miles from most of my family. And I will be spending not a lonely Christmas, but a Christmas with a few friends, but a quiet one, because that's life. People go their separate ways, don't they? So, how I thought my Christmases would be, and not how my Christmases are at all. But never mind. Any Christmas is a bonus, I suppose. So, I thought I might jump on and tell you about that time I didn't make Colin Farrell. Okay? Now, part of my thing about living in Ireland, and I feel extremely fortunate to live in Ireland, but one of the best things about living in Ireland is there's not very many degrees of separation between everyone on the island and everyone who ever comes through the island. And because Ireland is the island of saints and scholars and fabulous literature and film and music and, crack agus kill, music and good times and music, other way around. Loads of people who are involved with the arts on an international level come to Ireland, right? And also Ireland spawns fabulous actors and writers and musicians and such. So a few years ago, about 20 years ago, I got this crush, right, on this actor that I saw in a film called Tigerland, right? When I first saw this actor in a film called Tigerland, I initially thought that perhaps it was a friend of mine that I went to uni with back in Australia, because this guy in Australia was a very good writer, very good actor, very good filmmaker. And I thought, well, it was entirely likely that he would have made it as far as Hollywood, and perhaps that was him in the film that I was looking at, because he had a striking resemblance. His name was Dan, my friend, right? But then I looked up the name of the actor who was in Tigerland, and it was not Dan, it was a fellow called Colin Farrell. And I looked up Colin Farrell a bit further and found out that he was an Irish actor, and that he was getting to be known as a bit of a hellraiser. Now, I've always been a little bit susceptible to the idea of an Irish hellraiser, always fancied like Peter O'Toole and Richard Harris, that sort of thing. But so I sort of filed Colin Farrell away in the old noggin for like Irish hellraiser actor, blah blah. A striking resemblance to my friend Dan. Well, the more I saw of Colin Farrell, the more I liked him, of course. Admire him from afar through his art. Haven't seen every film he made, but I saw a few of them and I thought he was rather lush. And then I was working in a sex shop in Perth. And I was there this must have been about 2011, 2012? 2012 must have been. 2012. And loads of Irish fellows came into that sex shop. Right? I was working at the counter at this point. Loads of Irish fellows used to come through that store, and I used to always spot them as generally having the air of Irish, particularly if they're from Dublin, because they would have like their collar turned up. They're usually wearing like the green and white hooped shirts, product in their hair, shapen, bit of the attitude if they're dubs, that sort of thing. Anyway, and normally I would say something silly to them that was Irish relevant, and then we'd have a bit of banter and a bit of crack, and it made for a pleasant evening, because I always worked evenings, having a bit of banter with the Irish boys, and if I was lucky I might be able to sell them something. Anyway, so I'm standing there behind the counter one night, and in walked these two fellows, and the fellow who was walking in the front, something about him, in my peripheral vision, something about him struck me as quite Irish. I don't know, the way he was walking or something. But so in a split second, I registered that, like, I don't know, he seemed to be Irish, something about him. He was wearing a white t-shirt and jeans, and I noticed that his white t-shirt, his tummy was so flat. It wasn't like the normal Irish boy, who has usually a bit of a beer tummy, good food and stuff. This guy's tummy was so flat that his white t-shirt was just like hanging from his pecs, down loose over his light jeans. And I thought, my goodness, he must go to the gym, a brief thing. But I said to him, "What's the crack?" And he swung around and cocked an eyebrow at me and looked somewhat astonished in a sardonic fashion. And bugger me, didn't he look exactly like Colin Farrell? So much so that I text my friend Dan, who, if you remember, still does, of course, look a lot like Colin Farrell. And I text my mate Dan and said, either you've got a twin or Colin Farrell just walked through my sex shop. And Dan texted back and said, no, I don't have a twin, but I do have a cousin who looks like Ryan Gosling. And I'm like, well, aren't you the genetically blessed bloody family? But the man who looked astonishingly like Colin Farrell, or alternatively astonishingly like my friend Dan, he didn't come back out of the sex shop past me with his mate because there was a communicating door that went into the neighbouring premises of another sex shop. And there was also a back door that went out to an alley, which no one usually went out to. It was meant to be locked. But the fellow who looked astonishingly like Colin Farrell and his mate did not come back out past me, so I didn't get to see him again or chat to him or anything. And I thought, well, that was weird. Must have missed him. And we must have gone out the other way. And the next day, lo and behold, I get another text from Dan, and he says, I was just looking in the paper, and Colin Farrell is filming in Perth. So maybe that was actually him in the shop. I'm like, no. No. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. Because if that was really Colin Farrell, and he passed within like 2 feet of me in the counter of the sex shop in Perth, in my hometown, basically. And all I said to him was, what's the crack? Like a moron. I'd just die. I couldn't cope with it. If that was my one opportunity to have a bit of a chat to Mr. Colin Farrell, like, and I said to him, what's the crack? And he thought, oh no, I've been rumbled. And he sprinted out the door. Well, I just can't tolerate the thought that that's what happened. I shall never know, but I'm going to tell myself that was definitely not Colin Farrell. I will close in on him one day. One day I'll meet him for real. And I will never raise the subject of that sex shop again. There's only 1 degree of separation between me and Colin Farrell now because last July, I think, I was on Inishmore in the Aran Islands, which is where some of the Banshees of Inisherin were filmed. And I met a fellow who had done a bit of work for Mr. Colin Farrell in person. So there you go, just 1 degree of separation between me and Colin Farrell. It's an amazing place, Ireland. Like, working for the tours a couple of years ago, I met a bus driver who nearly ran down Daniel Day-Lewis down in Wexford because he rides around there on his motorbike all the time because he lives in Roundwood. And he also nearly ran down Jack Nicholson out on the Ayers Peninsula because apparently that's where Jack's grandma comes from. There you go. Degrees of separation in Ireland. Anyway, that's it. I've told my story. Thank you for joining me, everyone. Thank you for clicking like and subscribe. And if you go to the About page on this channel, it has all my links to social media. Do consider becoming one of my patrons at Patreon or other subscription services. There are links to those in the About page on this channel. So thank you one and all. And to all a good night. I'll be back on over Christmas. See you when you got nothing on.